So in this video, I'm going to try and go through and show you how to go through and add the Zoom tool to your course site, although you do not have to add Zoom to your course site in order to use it with your students, but it can facilitate some good organization for your students. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and show you how to go through and do simply making a recording with Zoom and then grabbing that recorded file after Zoom is closed and see how that functions by sharing it with your students. So you could record just a meeting with Zoom on your own with no other participants, and then after it's done you could take that say as a video lecture and then share it with your students inside your course. Now the other thing you can do too is you can still use Zoom if you're having a synchronous session that maybe one or two students aren't able to attend, and still record that and then share it inside your course inside of Sakai. So let's go through those really quickly. So most everybody is, I think, familiar with how to get to Zoom. You go to johnsonu.zoom.us, and every Johnson University user, that includes faculty, staff, and students, all have Zoom accounts. And so you can get to those, get to that simply by going to johnsonu.zoom.us, and then you can click the different options here. More than likely, you're going to need to click on the sign in option. I've already signed in, but if you do get to that sign in option and you see that there, you're going to want to choose the SSO option. That's for single sign on, and then use your Johnson University email address and credentials to log in. So I'm going to go back here from there. I'm just going to simply select host because I would like to host a meeting. So I'm pretending as if I'm getting ready to have class at say 1:30, and so I'm going to go ahead and start up this session. I've already installed the Zoom client on my laptop. I'm using a MacBook Pro laptop here, but you can also get the same client from for PC or for Android. I'm going to open that up here. It's also available for iOS on mobile devices. And you can see it's already started up there, so hopefully you can hear me and see me. I've used some of the video settings over here to choose a virtual background. There's some virtual backgrounds you can choose from if you want, or if you want to choose the none. But I happen to create this one in PowerPoint, which is an image, a JPEG image that has this, and it looks backwards to you, but it's actually right for anybody else who joins the meeting. It's just kind of one of those weird things when your webcam looks at you and sort of makes everything sort of slightly reversed. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to share a screen. So you can use the share screen option here. This allows you to share anything that's on your, any of the open programs that are on your device here. I can also technically use the whiteboard function. There's a built-in whiteboard function. I don't particularly like to use the whiteboard function because I have to use my mouse, and I'm not really good at drawing characters and that sort of thing, letter characters and drawing words with the mouse and the trackpad. But you can also connect an iPhone or an iPad via AirPlay, Bluetooth, or via a cable, and then you can use a whiteboard app on that, and it'll show whatever's on your iPad or your iPhone through the Zoom app. For now, I'm going to go ahead and close that. Down here, you've also got a participants list, so you can select the participants list, and as other participants join, they will show up in that participants list over there. You can also come over here as the facilitator or the moderator of the meeting. You can also mute them. So I just muted myself, and you can unmute. This is actually very handy if you happen to have someone come into the meeting and there's a lot of video or audio feedback, then you can do that. You can also use this more section to rename or edit the profile picture, that sort of thing. And there'll be other options there for other participants in the list. I can't show them to you now because I don't have anybody else there. There's also a mute all and an unmute all. And then there's some other more options that are down here. The one that's actually kind of nice is this play, enter, exit chime. So if somebody enters the meeting or leaves the meeting, then that can be really handy. Other options down here that are important for you to see are this chat area. So you put the chat area up there, and you can put text in here. You can also put website addresses. So if you want students to go to a particular, or participants to go to a particular website, and you're like, go to, Johnson, if I can spell right, johnsonu.zoom.us. And if I make sure I precede that with the HTTPS, then open. So that's a really good handy way to tell people, go there, do this thing, or watch this video, or whatever it is, and then you can use that really well. The other thing I want to show you too is also the record function. So if you're getting ready to use Zoom and you need to record the session for your students, then you can do that pretty easily. You can record using Zoom, and then you can take that Zoom file and you can put it into your course site using WarpWire inside of Sakai. Now, it sounds like a lot of jumps, but many of our faculty have been able to make that adjustment pretty well. So you can hit the record button here, and it lets you know that the recording is going on. If you're using the basic account will essentially allow you 40 minutes of meeting time from the time the second person actually gets into the meeting. If you want more than 40 minutes, or you have need for more than 40 minutes, then contact the IT services folks, and they can hook you up with a pro account. For most people, it might just be that the 40-minute session is fine. They might front load some of their instruction and then release students for the remainder of the hour and 15 minutes to do other things, or they might have students do things in the first part of the course and then jump in the last 40 minutes of the session. Other instructors have decided, I'm just going to have two 40-minute sessions, because I'll open up the meeting 10 minutes before the session should begin. That lets people trickle in, and then leave the session open, a second session open, later on after the class session is technically ended, to allow some questions and that thing. So essentially then what people do is they start a 40-minute session, and when the 40-minute session ends, they just simply tell students, get back in, and we'll start another 40-minute session. In the top left here, you can see that it's recording, and you can see that I can pause it or I can stop. The recordings with Zoom US get recorded to your local device, they don't get recorded to the cloud unless you have some other different type of Zoom account. All the basic accounts will record right to the device. Also to keep in mind is this thing where if we stop the recording and we're done, Zoom will not actually compile that recording until you completely close the meeting. That means all participants are gone and everything else, and you end the meeting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't demonstrate that for you now. I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop button, and you can see it says the recorded file will be converted to MP4 when the meeting ends. So essentially I have to end this Zoom session in order for us to be able to have that video file do its thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how to end the meeting. So you can end the meeting by going down to the bottom right here in the Zoom client, if you're working on the desktop or the laptop, and then so I'll just hit end meeting, and it'll ask me, are you sure you want to do this? And I can either leave the meeting or I can end the meeting for all. And in most cases for faculty moderators, you're going to want to end the meeting for all. So that's what I'll do now. So the meeting's ended, and so now you can see on my screen it's converting the meeting recording. Now, it's important to know, where does that thing go? Well, in some cases, if you're on a PC, it'll go to your Documents folder, your My Documents folder. On my Mac here, it actually goes to my Documents folder and into a folder that's specific to Zoom. And here you can see there's several different files there. The one that I'm most curious and most interested in is this zoom_0.mp4. I can see it's barely 20 megabytes there. There's also an audio only file. It's kind of nice that Zoom does that. So if you're doing this and you just need the audio, well, you can just post the audio file if that's all you need to do. All right, so how do we go about getting this file into our course site in Sakai? Well, let me go ahead and show you that. I'm going to go and jump on over to Sakai here. And inside of Sakai, I don't have to add Zoom to the course site, but I will have to add a different tool called WarpWire if I want to put video content inside the course. To do so, I can go to Site Info and then go to Manage Tools. And I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom to the place where it says External Tools, and then scroll in there and find the WarpWire entry. Scroll to the bottom and click Continue, and then finish the add-in, and then you'll see that tool appear on the left, the bottom. I'm going to select that tool, and you'll see that a WarpWire library gets created. In this case, I've already done this once before, so there's a WarpWire library that's already there, and I just need to add that Zoom file to this area so that I can make it easily accessible to those students, say, that didn't attend the session. I'm going to click on the Add button and select Upload Files. And then I need to find where that file was. Well, I remember it was in my Documents in that Zoom folder, and let's see here, that was for today, the 19th. It's in here. There it is. I'll hit Open. And when I hit Open, it's going to let me give it a better title. So giving these things a good title is appropriate. So maybe instead of Zoom 0, it might be March 22nd, 2020 session discussion or something. And you can give it a longer description if you want to. Select Start Uploading, and on the bottom you'll see it starts to upload the file. The bigger the file is, the longer it takes to upload. And then once it's uploaded the file, it'll start going through and essentially preparing it for online stream. Okay, you can see that it's going through there and scraping through that and making some thumbnails of the video there. And then once it's done, it'll actually show you that it's done there. Now, once it's done, you can either tell students to go to the course site and go to WarpWire to view the tool or to view the actual video that you want them to watch, or you can embed it inside of a lesson page. If you have questions about that, get a hold of us at the Department of Online Education. We can help you with it. It's mostly the same as what you might do with a YouTube video. Now that it's done, I can essentially click the video and I can scroll down here, it'll pin, and you can see it's already started to do its thing. Students can use, I'm going to go ahead and mute this here, students can go through and they can speed it up, so if they want to do 2 times the speed, then it'll make it really, really fast. If you want, you can also slow it down, or students can slow it down and they could hear you slower if that helps them with how they're learning. Okay, we can pause, and then we can close that and get out of that video. So that's essentially how you can go through and use Zoom to actually make a recording and then put it into your course site. But it's also how to just simply use Zoom. Now, some people have also had the question, how do I go through and just simply add Zoom to my course site? Now, what I've shown you so far is not how you do that. To add Zoom to your course site follows a slightly different process, but it's pretty simple. To add just Zoom, you just want to add Zoom to your course site. You can go to Site Info and still go to Manage Tools, and in the listing of external tools down here, you're going to find an entry for Zoom JU. Click Continue, and you can give it a better title if you want to, or just leave that as it is. It's perfectly fine. And then select Continue and Finish. On the left-hand side, then you'll still see the Zoom tool. It says Zoom Meeting. You can select it, and because I've already logged in, then now I can see these things. I can go to my personal meeting room, and it gives me information about that, my personal meeting ID, along with upcoming meetings. And if I want to, if I know my classes are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can schedule new meetings, and those will actually show up in my calendar and in the students' Outlook calendars as well, which can be pretty handy. That's pretty much very, very quick basics over how you can use some of these tools inside of your course site. If you have more questions, please get a hold of the Department of Online Education, and we'll be happy to help.